Good afternoon, everyone. I am Vasundhara, and on behalf of Shine.com, I welcome all of you to Shine Power Perspectives. Shine Power Perspectives is a first of its kind virtual debate series on issues that matter to the HR community. Top HR leaders will share their views with the audience about various trending HR topics in a rapid fire mode, which will be for or against the topic. Now, what's different? So, it's you who will be deciding the topic. To make this event experience exceptionally interactive for you, we are also introducing a new segment which is called Mystery Topic, which will let our audience choose a topic of their own choice for the speakers via poll conducted live at the event. Not only this, you will also get a chance to interact with the speakers on every issue with a short Q&A after each round of debate. Before we start, let's have a look at Shine. Now, I would like to introduce our panelists today, Mr. Aditya Pal Singh, Talent Acquisition Head India at Informatica, Mr. Nishant Kalra, Group HR Head at JTech India Limited, Ms. Neetu Singh, Global Head Talent Acquisition and Development at FARI, Ms. Rajni Athria, Editorial Head HR at Kantar's Insights. Now, I would like to introduce our first topic for the debate, and each speaker will get 5 minutes each to share their views. Audience can ask questions in Q&A option related to this topic. So, our first topic for the debate is remote working, a boon or a bane. So, let's start with you, Ms. Rajani.
Okay. Hi. Hi, everybody. Pleasure to be here. We seem to be discussing topics that can, be debated for days and months on end because you really can't come to a conclusion on whether it's a boon or a bane. But from my perspective, I think I would like to kind of classify it into kind of two buckets. One is remote working or work from home in general, and remote working or work from home in a forced environment, like we are doing now in a pandemic situation. The reason why I'd like to differentiate it is because the contextualization is important. When you're talking about remote working in general, which is not a pandemic driven remote working or a pandemic driven work from home, then you are choosing to work from home as an individual, and the employer is choosing to give you that opportunity to work from home or work remote. So there is a choice there. There is an independence there because you have chosen as an employee to work from home because of whatever circumstances that you are in. And most likely that you are going to be, no, you're probably going to be the one person, or maybe one more person would be working from home. Unlike in a current scenario or a pandemic scenario where there is no choice, most of the work from home pivoting has happened in the last 1.5 years out of a need or out of a situation which is really drastic. And you're not working from home as an individual employee alone. The entire home is working from home or studying from home or doing whatever from home. So then the context completely changes. So then what you could have perceived as a boon suddenly has become a bane, or the others find it as a bane, because you're constantly kind of bumping into each other. You don't have your personal space. You are, you really, and first of all, when we started getting into a work from home environment last year, we were really not prepared for it. We were, even in terms of fundamental things like basic work from home infrastructure, etc., etc. So the differentiation and the contextualization is very important. And if there is a choice, and if there is an independence, and if there is freedom that is exhibited or exercised by both the employer and the employee, it becomes really a boon. It becomes a great boon because it allows you, we all know that it gives flexibility, it saves travel time, it gives us to manage multiple things at the same time, and it helps really balance priorities. But when it is in a forced environment like today, then it becomes quite a bit of a bane, because then you feel very you feel that you've been mandated to do it. You feel like your independence has been compromised, and everybody is working from home at the same time. So my take on it is that it is the whether it's a boon or a bane depends upon the context, depends upon the choice, depends upon the timing. That's my broad brush umbrella statement. Having said that, I mean, from an organizational point of view, if I were to look at it from an organizational point of view, I would think that a very, very critical element in terms of building an organizational culture is being able to kind of get people together and people to be in a same place or a same environment, or to experience sameness that can be then experienced as an organizational culture. I think that's severely compromised in an environment where everybody is working from home. So if I were to wear an organizational hat on it, I would think that it's not so much of a boon. But in the last 1.5 years, I think all industries, all organizations have had to really, really pivot their strategies. And ones which have been most successful are the ones which have really, really moved from a physical to a digital space. And there's a lot of such pivoting that has happened at Kantar as well, in every aspect of our work. And the other thing that has happened is the mindset. Typically there's always been a reticence that individuals have felt or managers have felt in terms of this whole remote working, whether it's productive, whether it's efficient, how do you measure efficiency, and how do you, there's always been this question of trust. I think we've really, really significantly traveled a long way because of this forced kind of remote working environment. So that's my take on it. In summary, Vasundhara.
Mr. Aditya, your inputs?
Thanks, Vasundhara. I like the way Rajni has put across her inputs, and it's very important to look at from a contextual way of where we are. But this is my perception, and when actually Vasundhara wrote to me about this, remote working, I was laughing because last year one of the print magazines had portrayed one of my articles in one of the print magazines. Try and figure it out somewhere here in the meantime. But my take on this is, with COVID, we've realized work from home is possible. One, before that, work from home was thought very differently. All of us know, right? And we assume the fact that work from home means nothing, right? I'm sure all of us have been there somewhere in our careers, and we've been there. So one, it has enabled actually the way things are. Secondly is, I think, coming back to one of the theories which I always refer to, there's something called Martik's law. It basically talks of rate of change of technology, right? The rate of change of technology is going like this, and the adoption is somewhere here, right? Now, thanks to COVID, this has gone up. The gap is slightly less, but then adoption is still slower, right? If you go and ask anybody in an education institute, they would have never ever thought that they could get a lot of their education done from remotely, right? Forget that. So it has actually enabled in a way that adoption is happened a little more faster than anything else. Maybe this session would have been more physical, right? We could have met this way, we could have met each other. Yeah, but I miss the connect, which I'm being very honest. But so technology, one, has enabled the way we look at things from a very different way. So work can be done. Uh, Innovation companies are looking at, if you look at talent from a futuristic standpoint, is looking at flexibility. And if all of us are in the space of talent attraction, both from inward and external, right, making sure you retain, that also is now lately a big issue with a lot of organizations, and all of us are struggling somewhere or the other. I think so this is one of the key things to enable to talent to stay. I think the workforce has become a little more productive. People will have different point of views, but I think so you have more time doing your work, more focused, get away from the water cooler conversation, less distraction. That's the way I think I would look at it. Less employee turnover, because you had a lot of people leaving their workplace because of a lot of other things which they would want to manage at home. The new generation, the Gen Z, which has walked in, are basically, I read it somewhere, they call the digital nomads, right? They look at things which can enable technology, less physical, more technology enabled. So that helps us keep them in the workforce, right? Today it's a very weird workforce, right? You have about 4 to 5 generations working together at the same time. So from a compensation perspective, right, you can look at from that angle. You were able to attract people in tier 2, tier 3 cities where they can work for you. Employee turnover is lower. More diverse workforce. I think less cost from an infrastructure standpoint, from a company standpoint of enabling that to doing something else. Right today, a lot of companies are putting that cash back of non-travel infrastructure costs and a lot of other costs they've been able to save back to the workforce in some way or the other. As what Rajnika, we need to see what fits, right? There are some jobs which you need physically to be there. Let's be very honest. But if you look at India, is more coming from a technology company. It's still easier. I have seen a sea change in a lot of the managers who used to earlier look at work from home from a very different angle to today where they are looking at work from home. So it has opened the eyes. I think that's a positive side of adoption of technology, and thanks to COVID. But yeah, I think it will help us move in the right direction much more faster than where we are today. Now I'll actually figure out the article somewhere in between that. Back to you, Vasundhara. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing your inputs. So, Ms. Neetu, what do you think about the topic?
Thank you, Vasundhara, for giving the opportunity being a speaker today. And Rajni and Aditya, the way you have really put down things, I think it has covered the major elements about the topic. One, decoupling it from regular versus the forced situation, and Aditya, bringing the adaptability and the technology aspects into it. I'll further elaborate, but certainly in current situation where we all are uncertain about what's really happening, where we have become unstructured, and where we have become unknown scenarios of the individual, who we are managing or who we are working with, has made it more difficult from organizational as well as individuals perspective, especially an organization like ours. FARI is a growing organization globally, and I have around 5% of my population who we have resources who we have hired in last 5 to 6 months. I mean, if I say 5 months is the average tenure of the employees in US. So putting that in context, I keep talking to them and keep aligning them on global culture of the organization. It's like, I'm making them feel the culture rather they can see it. So observation based learning has gone, because they can't see in the office, the conversations is not happening on a natural flow. It's just call based conversation where you're flipping the laptop and closing it, the conversation is gone. It's just a limited time, and the person is in what mood and what stress, next meeting is planning, and a lot of things, kid is playing around, waiting for the food. So many things keeps happening at the same time. So bringing that thing, the new employees who are coming and getting their assimilations done from cultural and work point of view, it is becoming difficult for them to adapting the organizational culture. Another thing which I have observed being in HR and working in this global organization is, and of course, in the other discussions which I'm going through, most of the articles are not depending on work from home, how to manage yourself, and somewhere that all these topics are trying to counsel you how to manage it. Definitely, it has become a bane in that sense, because why otherwise you would be keep reading all the articles, most of it, depending on, how to manage work, wellness, mental health, work from home, balance, and all of it. One more thing I would like to add here is that when people come to office, be it the old employee or new employee, they need alignment, they need direction in their work. And what is happening, especially for the people who are building the new structures, I'm like, hiring VPs, directors, then managers, and then teams are further aligning, cross-functional. So they need some kind of a direction all the time for making sure, because they start self-doubting after one point in time, that are they making the right decision? Who's my stakeholder, for whom I'm producing these results, and who's validating it for me that, my actions are in alignment to everybody, and nobody's going to come back and say, hey, why you did this, Neetu, or XYZ in that role. So that's one thing which I definitely feel that, the whole collaboration element or whole alignment element has become slightly more complex when you're not really physically in office, and especially in a scenario where half of the organization is new and half of the organization is old. We are trying to assimilate them across the globe. Vasundhara.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Kalra, your inputs?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Vasundhara, to give me a chance over here to share my opinion as a speaker. And I think I am almost agree with all the comments which have been shared already with all the colleagues. So I have noted down few points over here. I just want to share a few things related to it. But before that, I just want to share that, definitely, in my opinion, if I talk about the remote working, it's definitely a boon in my opinion. As Aditya rightly said, that nobody was able to imagine, and even like schools or maybe colleges, that the online coaching or maybe classroom sessions can be done through online sessions. I just want to highlight one thing, that my younger son has not seen his school as of now, and he is in he has, I think, now he has crossed almost one and more than 1 year, I think. So he has not seen the school yet. So it is sometimes, I think, the child, they should learn, they definitely learn something when they go to the school, like Neetu already shared, that you cannot teach each and everything. There are certain observations which a new employee, when he enters, or a child when he enters in a school. Similarly, when a new employee enters in the office, he learns, he through his observation, her observations, so many things. And I think that is what the culture, you have to, you drive your culture through some of the things you can share through training, some knowledge you can impart through trainings, or some counseling sessions, or maybe some discussions, but not all the things. There are certain observations are also required to drive same organization culture which you want. So I just want to highlight some points which I have noted down for this study. There is one survey from Gallup which says that it is related to US, not with India. So they said out of five, three employees, they don't want to work in office. So, and this is not only in US, this is also in India. There are, we have major metropolitan cities. Jobs are there only, and there are so many employees who are working from remote areas, less small cities. They come and they take on the rent the flat, and they start working in the organizations. But now, if I see, I was going through one article few days back, and there were so many employees, they don't want to come back to Gurgaon or Delhi or in Mumbai or in Pune, Bangalore. They belong to some nearby places, and they don't want to come there because they are saving the rent also, and they are living with their families also, and they are perfectly giving their contribution. They are performing well because they know of the culture, they know the job profile, they understand the requirement of the job. But at the same time, it is very difficult, as Nitu already shared. It is not possible for a new employee to perform in a similar manner like an old employee can perform. So this is one thing. And then second thing, if I want to share one more uh, observation, that which is I have going through few articles. So there are some companies who have already made their announcements that even after the pandemic, they will not stop work from home practice. So out of that, I will just share few companies, like major companies like Twitter, Facebook, Hitachi, Siemens, Fujitsu, JP Morgan, Coca-Cola India, Google, Microsoft, and so many other companies. In IT also, we have seen few articles from Wipro also. I'm not very sure, but I think there was 4 months back approximately, the Wipro has announced that they will not stop this activity. So, and then if we go about one more survey which is published in Forbes magazine, and that was conducted, and the result is basically the words they said that it is beneficial for the organization, how they have given five factors, that productivity, which is uh, which is increased 35 to 40%, means they are more productive who are working from home. They are more productive, 35 to 40%. Then performance wise also, they shared that it is 40% workers produce results with 40% fewer quality defects. Then in terms of the engagement, 40% lower, 41% lower absenteeism. Then retention also, 54% of employees say that they would not change their jobs because of this flexibility. And then profitability wise also, it is 21% higher. Now, how it is related with profitability, I can see one major reason behind it is basically every office cost, to the company. There is a cost of each desk. I was in my last organization, we were having some shared service formula, because we were having three separate business groups, and we were calculating the cost, and we were giving the cost to each business group, distributing the cost based on the desk utilized. So that is why I know this concept very well, and I understand there is a huge cost involved behind each desk. There are a lot of administrative arrangement needs to be done, the rent, the other maybe facilities like cafeteria or transportation, so many other costs are involved, electricity, so many other costs. So I think this and then you cannot have your office in a less means fancy area. If you want to attract talent, so you have to be a kind of little bit fancy location and the area and then other things also. So that was the reason the costing was too high for the employers also. But now we can see that it is very much cost effective for employers. But I cannot say that it is 100% it is applicable for all the industries. There are certain industries where work from home cannot be possible. I am from a manufacturing industry. I am from JTech India Limited. I'm working here as a CHRO, and it's a Toyota Group company. We are world's number one company who are making steering systems for the cars. And it is basically, if I talk about the manufacturing plants, so manufacturing plants, you cannot produce without having a person working on the line, actually production line. So every job cannot be done through this remote working. But there are so many jobs which are we can say that the person is also, I was also very surprised by knowing this, that the person is performing more while working from home, despite of having so many obstacles at home. A wife can come to you, ye bacha bacche ne ye shararat kar di, ye bacha pad nahi. So anything can happen when you are working from home. But still, I think I was just trying to do my own analysis, and I thought that there is a kind of responsibility also, in terms of the when I'm my boss has allowed me to work from home. I feel more responsible. I feel more answerable that what I did when I was working from home. I think that is the reason when employee has perform well while working from home. So that is my submission, Vasundhara. I maybe it's up to you now.
Thank you, sir. I would request our audiences to pose their questions in the Q&A section. We move to the next topic now. The next topic is hard skills versus soft skills. Which of them are more important? Miss Neetu, if you would like to start.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity, Sanchi. Uh, of course, both again, both are required. If I don't have the skill, what would I speak? What do I do with my soft skills? But yes, if I put the context again, like Rajni exactly started in the right frame of mind from that perspective. If I put pandemic situation today in the context here, and then say, which is more important, then certainly I will go with the soft skills on the higher side, because even if I know, how to hire, how to induct people, but then there are different elements which was otherwise being taken care by my normal driven ecosystem or normal processes, and then things were automated in that sense. There's a person who's managing logistics, there's a person, manager is coming and meeting the new joinee and inducting him in the organization, versus I'm just putting an example from that perspective, when a person is coming on board, and how the hiring process is managed from a hard skill point of view, versus now what soft skills are playing a role here. That everything is virtual. You're supposed to get on board virtually. You're supposed to get inducted in the team virtually, and then start performing in the role virtually. So in that, again, like I was mentioning in the previous discussion, that we need to express how we are assimilating ourselves. We need to express whether, are we aligning properly or not. And then again, connecting back on, whether I'm understanding, my understanding is correct. Is it a shared understanding or not? So from that perspective, certainly a lot of soft skills require, you need to express yourself more, understand the context more, and align towards the organization, and still feel that I'm still in control. Because like Nishant was mentioning in the last topic, that people wants to become more productive, they wants to produce more results, because they don't want anything to be left because of them. So what that leads, basically, it leads them to overwork. Maybe there's a burnout happening at their end. So soft skills, if you are in your control, if you understand the place better, if you understand your own context better, then it is going to certainly help you manage yourself and manage your peers or the stakeholders or the business priorities, in that context. So that's where I would like to start for the discussion. Thanks, Sanchi and Vasundhara.
Mr. Kalra, if you would like to share your inputs.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vasundhara. I am fully agree with Nitu what she's shared. Although both are important, but in my my views are also same. We can, there are certain soft skills and hard. There is a difference between both of the things. Hard skills are quite easy in terms of the, if I compare with the soft skills, is you can impart the training, you can get your employees trained on the hard skills, but it is very difficult to change a person's attitude or maybe a soft skill competency. This is not very easy. Although there are so many renowned trainers are there, which uh, they they share that definitely you will get the results, 80% or 90% success rate or something. But I personally feel, in my whole experience, which I'm having HR experience over around 20 years, and I've seen the persons, I have terminated few employees in my career, and the main reason was not their skills. It was purely soft skills, not hard skills. So basically, soft skills is the main reason, and which can contribute in a positive manner in an organization behavior, or it can spoil your organizational behavior. The reason is, if a person sitting on top is not having good soft skills, you know competencies, then definitely company maybe, I'm not sure, maybe the person is so brilliant, so competent, but if he's not good in soft skills, I think he doesn't deserve a leadership position, first of all. And not only leadership role, it is also important. If you are working as a team member, it is also equally important. So in my submission is saying that soft skills is more important than hard skills. Although sometimes we do some kind of compromise as a HR professional, I'm honestly sharing with you, sometimes we are having so much pressure to fill the position, and we ignore some of the psychometric results also. And because if the skill is, suppose we are looking for a niche skills, or maybe very rare in terms of the competency, hard skills competency, sometimes yes, we ignore it, but not in all the cases. But honestly, we should not ignore it. This is my submission, Vasundhara.
Mr. Aditya.
Thanks, Sundra. Pretty similar inputs. What if you just basically look at from a understanding perspective, hard skills are the ones which you can simply measure, right? You can measure people's skills, you can test them on particular skills. Example, if this person knows .NET, you give them a test, you have them interviewed, as simple as that. From a longevity and career pivot to similar, and I would want to quote Nishant's input is, sometimes you see a lot of companies laying off people, right? It's not because most of them are underperforming. Some of them are not ready to pivot into the future, right? They don't have some of the skills which is required from a futuristic standpoint, right? If you try and understand, a lot of the top guys obviously say hire for capability, right? It's a good quote to have, and everybody says about it. But slowly organizations are pivoting into that direction. You have assessment setups more towards looking at capability than only looking at skills. But you need to make sure that there is some amount of skill and some amount of capability. The skill from a doer's perspective on delivering, but capability from a larger perspective. Skills like, and these all matter because they complement each other, right? Simple as some of the skills I just want to speak about is problem solving, right? Irrespective of the skill which you work on, if you don't have that ability, you can't do anything. Critical thinking, creativity, right? We've all been in those situations, right? If you're not creative enough to solution it, you will get stuck somewhere. Even people management today is so, it's so, people are not doing it the way it is expected to do, because today you have a workforce, which is virtual, physical, remote, some other part of the world, right? Emotional intelligence, your ability to empathize with people, get work done, right? Service orientation, anticipation, your ability to negotiate, and last but not the least is, we live in a more very complex world, and the ability to look at things a little more differently, right? Ability to have cognitive flexibility, it's a very important part, right? Your ability to do multiple things at the same time, to see through the pattern. So these are important things, and the best and the biggest example is, if you ask any of the HR leaders and everybody, is what's the most important thing you try and look at the people is, they need to be constant learners. So the day you stop learning, that means your skill, what got you here, will not help you grow further up from a longevity perspective, right? So it's your capability, it's your mental mindset, the attitude which you bring plays plays a much larger part than only becoming an SME in one particular area. There are enough logic written about it. They say nowadays there's something called T-shaped learner, right? While you are an SME in one area, but you should also understand the complete peripheral area to do your work better, because the way we are moving in the faster future direction, you will have more agile teams, smaller teams as we go further up. So that's my view. Vasundhara, back to you.
Miss Rajni.
Sure, thank you, Sachi. There are both advantages and disadvantages in speaking last, right? The biggest advantage is that you can absorb, and it's been so wonderful listening to all the three of you, three of them who spoke earlier. So you absorb everything. The disadvantage is I'm really scratching my brain as to what additional point can I bring forth to the discussion, because everything has been said, right? So from my perspective, I think it's a summary of what everybody has said. I mean, you really can't distinguish between a hard and a soft skill. But couple of things that I'd like to place on the table is a hard skill. Aditya mentioned it's measurable, right? It is measurable. The other point is that it is specific to a particular job or a particular role, right? And to that extent, it can be different for different jobs and different roles or different industries at different levels. But if you look at a soft skill, it is far more intrinsic. As even Nishant had pointed out, it's far more intrinsic, and you really can't differentiate it, and therefore it becomes far more important, and therefore it becomes very difficult to kind of pivot it, shift it, and therefore it makes it that much more challenging in terms of managing it, and therefore it becomes so much critical, more critical in my opinion than even a hard skill. Because of course, I mean, and I'll agree with Neetu when she said that you can't. I mean, what am I going to do with my soft skills if I don't have the hard skills? So you do need the hard skill. You do need the hardcore technical skill to be able to perform in a role. Definitely, you do. But I mean, if I were to look at it as an analogy, hard skill is a staple. I mean, it's like the rice or it's like the roti, which is a staple. but you can't just eat a plain rice or a plain roti without the accompaniments or without the side dishes that make it more palatable. Otherwise, and those accompaniments which make it more palatable, which make it more wholesome, is what I would call the soft skills. Because you can't just eat plain rice. You have to, or you just can't eat plain roti or plain bread or whatever it is. You do need those accompaniments, and those accompaniments sometimes become even more critical than the main dish itself. And that's how I'd like to look at soft skills. You can't, so in summary, you can't delineate a hard skill and a soft skill. A hard skill, like Aditya said, is measurable. It is teachable, as Nishant said, and in my view, it is specific to a role. But a soft skill is universal, and in that sense, it supersedes the hard skill as well, because it is universal, because it is difficult to be measured, because it is difficult to be changed. It becomes so critical. And for every role, we are all social human beings, and we need to kind of interact and work alongside with other people. And again, I'm putting on my organizational hat. If you want to kind of look at an organizational growth or an organizational journey or an organizational vision, it has to have everybody aligned in one direction, and it can't happen without a play of soft skills, because that involves relationship, that involves influence, that involves communication, that involves convergence. So therefore my vote is for soft skills, while I'm completely in alignment that you can't do without hard skills. That's my submission.
Any panelist who would like to add any point to this topic? Mr.
I think we
Kalra?
all are aligning on this aspect that soft skills is keeping today's context, if one wants to really keep a work-life balance, even in the chaotic or mess environment, the best is to rely on your soft skills and make sure the priorities are set and you're taking care of your house where you are, residing and, working from home. And also, making sure that all the stakeholders who are engaged with you, be it in any capacity, has the visibility of what you're doing. So I think, yes, that definitely takes an edge in today's scenario.
And just to add on, to build on what Neetu said, in today's context, I think the soft skills, we also have to pivot it slightly. And I'll give you an example. For example, if we are physically in a physical office environment, and if there is a manager-employee conflict, and if the manager wants to kind of give a dressing down to the employee, then and manager is very evolved, emotionally intelligent, the manager draws the employee into a cabin, and that's what is expected, and then everybody understands. So therefore there is a private dressing down that happens. Today we are all in an environment, we are virtually working, we don't know who is sitting, we could be having our folks right next to us, and if there is a manager who is wanting to kind of pull up a team member, or scream at a team member, or give a dressing down, the manager needs to know that he or she should ask the team, are you alone, or are you around with people, or I mean, could you kind of go away because we need to have a chat. So that sort of a little nuancing, which was automatic in a physical environment, becomes a need that needs to be kind of probably underscored or taught in a virtual environment like today. So even within those soft skills which we know, we understand, a certain amount of nuancing to the context is necessary in today's environment. That's what I wanted to build on to Neetu's point.
Yes. Completely agree. More sensitivity to be practiced, where with a lot of unknown factors are involved. True.
Mr. Kalra, Mr. Aditya, if you would like to add something.
So I would, equate it to, a barometer, basically saying that look at the 30 and 70% mix of saying that, obviously the hard-coded skill, the percentage is lesser, but the other one plays an important part as from a longevity of a career or anything else perspective, right? So it plays a far more bigger part, because those are the things which complement each other, right? As what Rajni spoke about that the particular incident she spoke about. So it needs to, but what people need to realize is it's not only hard skills, right? Becoming an SME in one particular area, but lacking in all the softer skills on a longevity will not get you anywhere. So it's a marry of both. But as we go further up, the softer skills are already playing a bigger part. Even if you look at some of the assessments, companies are now looking at gaming from an assessment standpoint to have a very unbiased approach towards assessing the future employees. So that's the direction a lot of organizations are moving. Nishant, you want to add?
Yeah, I think all the points are already covered. I will just say a very old philosophy behind it. Like when you grow in your career, when you start your career, you start your career because of your hard skills, right? But when you grow in your career, it is not because of your hard skills. You grow within your career because of your soft skills. So when because you need to manage your team, uh, you need to take results from the team. You need to have a good relationship with your team. You need to be all the soft skills. You need to be having a competent person, to handle a team. So that is only possible, and your hard skills are getting done by your team members. The requirements of the hard skills are basically getting less when you grow in your career. And the soft skills requirement of the soft skills are getting increased. It is my submission, and it is a very old philosophy as well. So I think, and as Rajni said very rightly, that although we cannot ignore soft skills and hard skills, it's a kind of a roti and sabji, or maybe a rice or a sabji. So we cannot ignore both of it. So but when you grow in your career, you grow when you take a leadership position, I think soft skills is much more important than hard skills.
Thank you. Now it's time to start a poll around the mystery topic, where our audience will decide the third topic. Would request all the audience members to be a part of the vote and decide the topic you want to listen to. The poll is just for 1 minute. I would request our audience members to vote for the topic they want our panelists to discuss on.
Rajni was very excited for the mysterious topic. Rajni, the time is coming.
Great.
So the highest vote is to what do you prefer, learn to work or work to learn? Learn. So our panelists will be discussing on this topic now. Mr. Aditya, would you like to start?
Sorry, speaking on mute. So, what do you prefer? Learn to work or work, work to learn? Yeah, it's like this. Yeah, so I think my perspective would be, you know, work to learn. That's my perspective of looking at it, because when you start working, you learn a lot of things, right? You pick up things from your peers, you pick up things while you do your job, and to whatever we might give the job description of our employees, they'll end up doing a little more or beyond their own realm of things. It's important once you get into your job, you realize what exactly you want to do. I know a lot of people who would have done education in some particular area but landed up doing something else. So you learn a lot of things at your job. You then pivot your career accordingly, because those experiences help you decide what you want to take your career further on. So I believe for a fact that it's you learn at your job, and then you continuously pivot your career. The good part is we are now living in a world where a lot of the information is free and available, so you can decide how you can pivot your further career up. Earlier, when I was studying, it's a limited set of career options, right? Engineer, army, doctor, few other things. But now you have an option, and once it's a brave new world, because you have people who've been working in a particular industry for a period of time and suddenly step out and say, I think the job which I've been doing is not the job which I want to do from a longevity perspective, and they drop off and do something else and they're pretty happy doing. So that's my perspective, Vasundhara.
Miss Sajni, would you like to continue?
Sure. So I would agree with Aditya. I think work to learn, because for me, I would personally think that learning should be, a joy in itself. And therefore, you learn, and in the process, you gain expertise. It's like that famous dialogue in this movie, Three Idiots. I'm forgetting the Hindi dialogue, but I mean, broadly translated, it says, pursue excellence and then success will follow. So in that sense, you know in pursuit of excellence, learning is the most important thing. I mean, I constantly keep telling, and we have a huge focus on learning in our organization, Kantar. You need to be able to continuously reinvent yourself, learn, to be relevant. So then it becomes, you don't need to learn just for achieving that role or that work or whatever it is. You just learn for the joy of learning, and in the process you will realize that you have gained excellence, and which will automatically steer yourself, as Aditya also pointed out, in terms of your next career or your next role or whatever it is. And then it gives you such a wide perspective that it gives you the independence and choice. So my vote is for work to learn. I mean, learn while you're working, or learn while you're not working. Learn to enjoy the process of learning. That's my simple take on it. Back to you.
Mr. Farha?
Thank you. So my vote is also not different from Aditya and Rajni. So it is. I will also prefer work to learn. I will just give you one example which I have shared earlier also in my last webinar. When I visited actually I belong to. I was working with MNCs for so many years, and I worked last time when I got a chance to meet global leaders in HR abroad, not here. I'm talking from France. My last organization was a French company, and we were having one seminar where we got some meetings, some strategic meetings and all. So I was quite surprised to know all my colleagues across the world, and many of them were not having a qualification of HR. And we because I belong to India, I can see that if a person has not done MBA in HR or maybe masters in HR or some other degree, he cannot make his career. He or she cannot make their career in HR. Or maybe similarly in finance, if the person has done CA, so he will definitely a finance person. So, same time, I have seen the persons switch from finance and became they came in HR because of their certain soft skills, because of their some abilities to handle that role in a very better manner, because they learn through their work, learn through their work. And I think they are more successful than a qualified person, because they are having their soft skills, desired soft skills level of competencies, which is much more higher than a qualified person. And they learn with the time, they learn with some incidents, they learn with some in their professional journey, and they are performing better than the qualified persons. So similarly, when I can see that there is a huge gap between a qualification which we read bookish knowledge and a practical aspect of any job. We can see particularly in the support functions, I can see like HR. So there is a huge gap, what we learn in the college MBA degree, and then what actually we do. So I think that is one thing. You cannot read, or you cannot learn certain skills without actually working. So work to learn is my submission over here.
Miss Neetu, your views?
Yeah, I'm smiling because now I have a different view. uh, really good to hear. I was really constantly looking at, am I really understanding correctly? So definitely, I want to express my view around learn to work. Work to learn, of course, is the right thing to do, but learn to work, why I support that? Because in the unpredictable future, there are a lot of roles, there are a lot of profiles which are coming, So while I am doing different things, let's say, I mean, anything which I'm trying to do new, let's say launching a referral policy. So trying to understand my ecosystem, learning around all of this, and then working, launching it, experiencing that learning. So learn to work, I would call it in that way, that the roles which are emerging, this was just an instance or example. It's a digital world, or the content world which is emerging these days now. There are a lot of things which is coming together. I was into an editorial organization, News Corp, for some time, and I saw that, news the newsletter was a task, where the entire team was sitting and compiling the newsletter, placing it properly. And then I heard over a period that no, there are software which can just generate a newsletter to you. So then certainly not the focus of organizing, managing the content, but rather focusing on the other aspects of the content. So on the same lines, there are a lot of things which we don't know today. That is evolving. Future is unpredictable. We are trying to automate or organize a lot of sectors which are yet to be structured or organized in such a way. Then there are a lot of things which we don't know today, but yes, we need to learn to work towards achieving it. So that's just my view. At the same time, not disagreeing that we need to work to learn, but again, looking at the unpredictability of everything around, how we organize ourselves and make sure that we are still focused and then still learning. I'm learning to work and then trying new things to create an experiential learning around it. That's just my submission here.
Since we are running out of time, we'll share the Q&A guide after the event. On behalf of Shine.com, I would like to thank our panelists today. Thanks everyone for being a wonderful audience and making the session so much interactive. Recording of the webinar will be shared with all the attendees along with the feedback mail. Thanks everyone. This is Sanchi signing off.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.